The theater was loud just seconds ago, judges chatting, audience murmuring, cameras adjusting, but the moment the young Filipino man stepped onto the stage, something shifted. He stood there quietly, gripping the microphone with both hands, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes scanning the massive hall as if he were trying to convince himself this was real. Then Simon Cowell leaned forward and asked the simplest question that would change everything. "What are you going to sing?" The young man swallowed, took a breath, and said softly, "An Elvis Presley song." A few people smiled politely. Some exchanged doubtful looks. No one, absolutely no one, was ready for what came next. Before the story goes any further, if you love emotional talent stories that give you chills and remind you why dreams matter, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more unforgettable moments like this to you. His name was Miguel Santos, a 24-year-old from a small coastal town in the Philippines where opportunities were scarce and expectations were even smaller. He grew up in a modest home with thin walls, a leaky roof, and a radio that barely worked, but that radio changed his life. Every Sunday morning, his father would tune it carefully, adjusting the antenna until the static faded and music poured in. That's where Miguel first heard Elvis Presley. The voice was powerful, confident, and full of soul, everything Miguel felt he was not. Yet something about it spoke to him, as if that voice was saying, "You belong on a stage." Miguel's father was a jeepney driver who worked long hours just to keep food on the table. His mother sold homemade snacks in the local market. Singing, to them, was a hobby, not a future. At school, Miguel was known as the quiet kid, the one who sat at the back, never raised his hand, and avoided attention. But at night, when the house was asleep, he would sing softly, copying Elvis's tone, his emotion, his phrasing. It was his secret world, a place where he felt strong. Life didn't make it easy. When Miguel was 16, his father fell ill and could no longer work regularly. Miguel dropped out of school to help support the family, taking odd jobs, washing dishes, carrying goods, fixing boats. Dreams were pushed aside, survival came first. Still, music never left him. He sang at local fiestas, sometimes for free, sometimes for a few coins. People would stop and listen, surprised by the depth of his voice, but praise never felt enough to make him believe. Years later, a friend showed him a clip from America's Got Talent on a cracked smartphone. Miguel watched people from all over the world step onto that stage, watched lives change in minutes. He laughed at first. Someone like him? On that stage? Impossible. But the idea stayed with him. It grew louder every day until finally, against all logic and fear, he auditioned. Getting there was its own battle. Paperwork, travel, money he didn't have. His mother quietly sold her small gold necklace, the only jewelry she owned, to help pay for the trip. When Miguel found out, he cried harder than he ever had before. That night, she told him, "If you don't try, you'll regret it forever." Standing on the AGT stage, all those memories came rushing back. Simon's skeptical expression didn't help. Neither did the whispers from the audience. Miguel closed his eyes as the music started. For a split second, his hands shook. Then he sang. The first note cut through the room like lightning. It wasn't just good, it was unreal. Rich, deep, and hauntingly familiar, yet completely his own. The audience leaned forward. Smiles faded into shock. Simon's eyebrows lifted slowly as if his brain needed time to catch up with what his ears were hearing. Miguel wasn't imitating Elvis, he was channeling the soul behind the music. As the song built, so did the emotion. Miguel's voice carried years of struggle, sacrifice, and silent hope. Every lyric felt lived in, every note honest. By the time he reached the chorus, some audience members were already on their feet. Judges glanced at each other in disbelief. This shy young man, who barely spoke above a whisper moments ago, now owned the stage completely. When the final note echoed and faded, there was a brief moment of silence, the kind that only happens when people are too stunned to react. Then the theater exploded. A standing ovation. Cheers. Tears. Simon Cowell shook his head, smiling, almost laughing in shock. "I did not expect that," he said. "At all." Miguel stood there, overwhelmed, eyes wide, breathing heavy, as if he had just woken up from a dream. The judges praised not just his voice, but his authenticity. They talked about how rare it was to hear someone sing with that much truth. When all the votes came in, it was unanimous. For yes. Miguel covered his face and dropped to his knees, crying openly as the audience roared. Back home in the Philippines, his family watched from a neighbor's television. His mother clutched her hands together, whispering prayers through tears. His father, usually a man of few words, simply said, "That's my son." But the journey didn't end there. With fame came pressure. Online comments, expectations, comparisons. Miguel struggled with self-doubt again, questioning whether he truly belonged. During one rehearsal, overwhelmed and exhausted, he almost quit. That night, he called his mother. She reminded him of where he came from, of the boy who sang quietly so no one would laugh. "You've already won," she said. "Because you believed." On the night of his next performance, Miguel walked onto the stage differently. Not confident, but grounded. He sang not to impress, but to tell a story. His story. And once again, the audience felt it. The judges felt it. Millions watching around the world felt it. Miguel didn't just sing like Elvis. He proved that dreams don't care where you're from, how much money you have, or how quiet your voice once was. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment of courage to change everything. So if you're watching this and doubting yourself, remember Miguel. Remember that even the shyest voice can shake the world when it finally decides to sing. If this story inspired you even a little, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that remind us why we should never give up.